Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com here to talk about Monday Night Raw on the July 4th edition of the show. There's obviously a special holiday edition here. That's why my usual co-host John Clark not here tonight. He was out celebrating the holiday, so I hope John had a good time. I myself was here, obviously covering Raw. Want to talk about Raw? Figured it would make sense just to do it right after the show. Rather than trying to do it tomorrow or whatever, just figured, anybody who wanted to tune in and then talk about Raw, enjoy it, could do so, and then anyone that was celebrating or whatever could check out the show tomorrow or whatever else. Steven saying happy 4th of July. Steven, happy holiday to you as well. To level with you all, today's been pretty rough. There was another mass shooting today, and I was very close to not doing the show because it's a rough time, and it's hard to talk about wrestling with all that stuff going on. But I thought the right thing to do will be to do what I'm here to do. Obviously, I'm here to talk about wrestling and just try and do that, even when real world stuff can kind of get in the way sometimes. So that's why I'm here. I thought that would be good to try and escape some of that stuff, to talk about Raw, talk about WWE, all that good stuff. Because there was plenty to talk about tonight, plenty of things with SummerSlam, plenty of things with the show tonight, just in general. But I just want to put that kind of disclaimer out there because that is kind of the elephant in the room here, because it is a holiday, obviously, and it is a very so it's a rough time. We'll leave it at that. But there's a lot to get into. Mark with a question off the bat saying, what was that promo running before the Asuka match with the Texas license plate with Latino heat on it? That was a reference to the theory is that is Edge. John and I talked about this last night on the Money in the Bank post show. Was that I think it may have been the same promo or something very similar played during Money in the Bank. It was like this vignette for somebody that's not named in the promo. But it had that license plate with Latino heat on it. I believe there was a gold medal and also Jeff Hardy's like old armbands, all very clear Easter eggs for Edge, because those are all people that he's faced in the past, feuded with in the past, or has some history with. But at least they've been rivals with them at some point. And Steven saying, yeah, definitely has to be Edge. There was a lot of speculation that was potentially for Bray Wyatt. It's a little crazy to kind of go in that direction, but pretty clearly it's Edge. Full of those very specific Easter eggs. More so the Bray Wyatt thing was more like, oh, this feels like a very cinematic, weird, odd, tonal thing to do in general for WWE. If it's not for a Bray Wyatt kind of guy, but it seems to be it's a new kind of shift for Edge. Maybe it's going back to the past to reference or to go back to the past to kind of form this new character. And Eddie agreeing that it does have some Bray Wyatt vibes, but I do feel pretty confident in the guess that it is for Edge. And I was just asking if John's okay. John is out celebrating the holiday tonight, or at least he was this afternoon, so that made him kind of unavailable for the show. And I said at the beginning of the show here, I was considering not doing the show myself. I didn't really have a reason not to. I was working and watching the show. Steven says he's enjoying the fireworks, or that maybe John is enjoying the fireworks. I'm right by my window. My windows are open. There's still some fireworks going on here and there, kind of sporadically. I think the big display's over, but obviously it is 4th of July. Happy 4th to everyone celebrating. Hope you had a good one. And we're here to talk about Raw because WWE, the show never stops. If it's on Christmas, if it's on maybe Christmas and some of the big three holidays, maybe, but business as usual. It's a Monday night. Raw is on. I'm here working, so again, I figured might as well just do the show anyway, and anyone that wanted to join could. So here we are to talk about Raw. To talk about the question from Mark about the Edge promo here, or seemingly the Edge promo here. I guess we'll just work backwards. We'll start with the main event because that was pretty good. This was yet another match here between Asuka and Becky Lynch. They've been feuding pretty recently here ever since Asuka and Becky both returned after SummerSlam. They were going back and forth. They've had a number of matches on Raw, and they also faced the Bianca Belair at Hell in a Cell. They were both in the Money in the Bank match as well. So definitely they've been kind of constantly in each other's orbit here, and they've also have a lot of history before that, going back to like 2019, 2020. So this is a pretty long running feud, kind of on and off. This was kind of supposed to be the big blow off, at least for now. and the Becky Lynch won. Might as well dive right in. It was a no holds barred match. There were tables and chairs, and it was very much a hardcore match like that. I did like this, Steve and I definitely agree. One fun spot was Becky Lynch blocking Asuka's miss with the umbrella. They had, because of the history, she has been missed it before. This time she saw it coming. So a nice fun kind of a way to adapt there of like having her, having that scouted. I always like that. It feels very realistic to me. So I always like seeing that. Eddie's saying that Becky Lynch and Asuka can fight forever and steal the show. I mean, I tweeted about it during the show, even though this is what John and I talked about with the Street Profits last night. Even though they faced off many, many times, it's always very, very good. And I really can't complain about that. Like, I'm not going to complain about having a good match, about getting to watch two very talented people, in this case, wrestle in the main event. Two very talented women here in the main event wrestle. They really brought their A game. I liked it a lot. Nestor says that Becky had the same outfit as Money in the Bank. I did see a number of people kind of reusing their outfits. Theory also had the same outfit by the looks of it. Can't really blame them. Like, whatever, man. Like, I'm sure they watched it. Like, I don't know. But Nestor says Becky using the same outfit is a sign that she's losing it. Hey, maybe that's what they're going for. With Becky winning, the broadcast team quickly said at the end, like, oh, Becky Lynch's slump, quote unquote, is over. Welcome back to the big time. And this circles back to what John and I were talking about last night. It seems like, Eddie, very good timing, seems like we are indeed possibly going toward Becky versus Bianca yet again for SummerSlam here. Big match here potentially for the Raw Women's title. SummerSlam is 3 weeks away. And that's not a lot of time. Like, I feel like a number of things we saw tonight probably were setting, maybe even planting the seeds a little bit for SummerSlam. We saw this with Becky getting this big win. Maybe next week we'll see her confront Bianca and set that up. We saw a couple other things there throughout the show to kind of potentially set up some SummerSlam things as well. But it's increasingly looking like we might see that. Might see this here with Bianca and Becky. DJ's asking about if we were talking about Liv yet. Nope, did not talk about Liv. Actually started at the end, and we're going to work our way backwards here. And Liv was earlier in the show, so no worries about that. Eddie, about Becky and Bianca, saying it's 1 year storytelling. Bianca could beat Becky 1 year, or I guess to the pay-per-view after Becky squashed Bianca last year. I mean, that would make sense, and like I get it. But at the same time, like, wasn't that the whole point of WrestleMania? Like, wasn't that the whole point of Bianca's like triumph and of doing that? And again, I'd be happy if they ran it back at some point. Does it have to be SummerSlam right now? Like, the WrestleMania was only, call it 3 months ago from right now, and that's not a whole lot of time to kind of let this breathe. This does feel a little redundant. If they run it back, it'll be a good match. It's a good story to tell. But again, my drawback is like they just told that story. Like, and Becky could, say, oh, I beat you 26 seconds. I still have that over you. But like, there's only, I don't know. I do think that's something for me, at least, they're going to have to kind of fight against to really get me invested. Like, we've seen this, been here, done that. It's going to be a good match if they do it. But my inherent investment is a little lesser than it may have been. But no, Brian pointed out it was a very good main event match tonight, so I had no complaints there about that one. But I like it. I like having these like pay-per-view level matches here in the main event. And again, if they do Bianca versus Becky again, am I going to be all that excited? No, because again, only because not as a reflection of the talent, but more so just the fact they keep doing it. But that seems to be kind of the name of the game here for SummerSlam so far, because we're getting Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns again. So I digress. But a good main event nonetheless, a good way to end the show here. Shortly before that, just kind of like roll right along here, we had Herman bring up the Gunther segment here, saying that we should have had Veer attack R-Truth instead of Gunther here, as we wound up seeing. We had R-Truth coming out, addresses Uncle Sam for in honor of the holiday, and he was talking about patriotism and talking about holiday, USA chants, all that good stuff. And then Gunther comes out, introduced by Ludwig Kaiser, and Gunther just squashes him. Like, Gunther attacks him, beats him up, clotheslines and power bombs, and just absolutely dominates Uncle Sam / R-Truth. Pretty cool to see Gunther here on Raw, obviously as a SmackDown superstar. The brand split is unofficially gone. Like, again, we're seeing so many crossovers, or at least like the softening of the brand divide. We had the SmackDown Women's Champion on Raw tonight. Technically, she's still on Raw right now, but I guess she's moving to SmackDown. We'll talk about that in a minute. Gunther's on SmackDown, came over Raw tonight. I guess he was so bothered by R-Truth dressing up as Uncle Sam and celebrating Independence Day. And Eddie pointing out that Gunther probably did not like that fact, so maybe that's why he felt the need to do that. And this was cool. They've already very clearly framed Gunther as like this anti-American, or you know, that he's this Austrian powerhouse, and like, oh, he's the Intercontinental Champion. And they're trying to go with like, oh, in his eyes, that's better. Like, it's a Continental, not the United States title. And we talked about it last night. If Gunther and Bobby Lashley both hold on to their titles heading into Survivor Series, that's one pretty cool match, both in terms of like two powerhouses. And then you get Bobby Lashley saying, hey, no, like, I am the U.S. champion. And you have that. That seems like a pretty cool story to tell. Steven Chambers feeling bad for R-Truth getting beat up here. Yeah, he got to the floor. Gunther wiped the floor with him. Nash just says, "Gotta love R-Truth." Hey, R-Truth always, like, he does his best with whatever he's given. Gotta give the guy a shout out for that. But we're talking about Gunther versus Bobby Lashley maybe for SummerSlam. Talking about big meaty men slapping meat. Eddie says, "What about Gunther versus Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre?" Boy, that'd be a lot of fun. But why not do that at Clash at the Castle? Like, I've often thought, even before Gunther won the title, they could do Gunther versus somebody because of the UK setting there. But why not have three of your top UK stars there in this one match? That'd be a big way to really cement some prestige and just get a potentially big win for Gunther there. They've made it very clear that Drew McIntyre is going to challenge for the undisputed WWE Universal title. It's a mouthful. At Clash at the Castle, he said it over and over again. He's called his shot so many times, but I do think that'd be a very fun match. Brian says that Gunther isn't booked strong. It's been very cool to see the dude. Yeah, like we've talked about this before, he's lost some weight, so he's not this like big, imposing, like 300 pound, however heavy he was before, like massive mountain of a man necessarily. Now he's a lot more lean, and there are some people who think that like he's less intimidating because of that. This guy is still on there. He's chopping people like to shreds, or whatever you want to say. Like, he's still very dominant, still very impressive. I'm still enjoying him very much. I'm very glad to see that he has been booked strong with another strong like this. So I'm hopeful that he'll be in a big match at SummerSlam, whoever it might be. And then for Clash of the Castle, whatever might be beyond that. Maybe versus Sheamus or something like that. That still be fun, even though the Drew McIntyre thing, the three-way sounds like a lot of fun. But doing something like that could be really cool. And that's just said they better have Drew McIntyre beat Roman. I don't know. I could see it because the UK thing, but Drew being the guy that beat Roman, like I keep hoping it's going to be somebody, if not somebody new, because the thought has been in a lot of ways for me at least, that's going to be Cody Rhodes, because that feels like a pretty natural story to tell. Cody being hurt right now may change things, but that's what I was thinking. And there's with him, like, that would cement him as this top guy in WWE. Drew's already cemented as that guy. Like, I really hope whoever does beat Roman for the titles gets that kind of that elevation, right? Not that it's like this return to prominence for Drew. It's like that somebody new gets to get to that level and even if it's Cody, they've already framed him as a top star, but that would take him to that top level. Steven's wondering when is Clash at the Castle. It is after SummerSlam. Off the top of my head, I don't know. It is in September. I'm looking it up, and drumroll, it is September 3rd. So September 3rd, that is Labor Day weekend. So that is 3 or 4 weeks after SummerSlam. Looking right now. Call it 4 weeks? Actually, no, it's almost 5. They've had a pretty solid chunk of time after SummerSlam there to load up the card for that. Whereas by contrast, they had Money in the Bank this past weekend, and they've got 3 weeks from tonight or from this week, to build up SummerSlam, a big show. So hopefully they'll capitalize on having all of August to do that, because rushing a big card together is a little tricky. It's a big show. You would want to really have these big matches there, and making them really interesting over the course of 3 weeks can be a little hard to do. And again, match points on nothing in August. It's interesting that usually there's one per month pretty regularly. nothing in August right now, and I could be wrong. I don't necessarily foresee them adding something at the last minute. It's like, well, the pandemic era was one thing, like they randomly like added Payback in August or something, but usually now they have to have these things kind of planned out in advance. So it feels safe to say we're not going to have a pay-per-view pre-main event, whatever, in August. So hopefully they'll capitalize on that because it could be beneficial. Naturally agreeing that if Cody hadn't gotten hurt, probably would have been him to beat Roman. I mean, that really felt like the direction they were going. And now Cody being hurt, it does feel like, again, that may change things, or at least change the timeline, or maybe it'll be, next year now. I don't know. But definitely worth pointing out, Roman does have 2 titles. They have not, made one new unified title. He's still holding both titles individually. So they very well could have him ununify the titles, even though that seems like a bit of a cop-out in a way. Eddie points out someone needs to take one title off Roman, because if Roman does have this part-time schedule, because at least you have one title get featured on the show. And I agree. I've been talking about this on the SmackDown show lately. Like, it's not great having Roman just be gone a lot. Like, I'm the kind of fan, I want the world title to be a part of the show, even if it's not every single week, like 3 out of 4, like most of the time. Like the show should be about the world title, and having one guy hold both world titles and having him not be around a lot, that's a hard sell. And that I think that the whole show kind of suffers for that, at least by and large, having the depth like that. Because you could have a number of talent, but like if you're all fighting for something that's not the top title, like it's inherently a little flawed setup. It's not, to me, it's not the ideal setup there. But DJ puts out that they reportedly are going to have an NXT event in August. I don't think that's been confirmed yet. I know that was rumored, and that may be true. And then so we'll have something in August. I more meant that they were not going to have a main roster show in August. We're going to go from Clash at the Castle, go from SummerSlam end of July through August, and then Clash at the Castle will be the first weekend in September. So there'll be no main roster shows in August, which again is a little interesting scheduling quirk there. But yeah, no Roman tonight, no Usos either. The Usos being the same issue. The unified tag team champions, if they're not around, what are the tag teams really fighting for? Although you can still get wins kind of the rankings, I understand, and earn title shots and all that good stuff. I understand that. But again, I prefer when champions are around and they're part of the show, and you're inherently losing a little bit for me in my investment, my enjoyment, or maybe it's not enjoyment, at least my investment, because the titles, in theory, they matter. Hey, speaking of titles, we had the new SmackDown Women's Champion Liv Morgan on the show tonight, talking about winning the title. Obviously, she won SmackDown Women's title at Money in the Bank by cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase on Ronda Rousey. She won very quickly by rolling up Ronda. So she came out to the show to Raw tonight to kick off her reign. Now, if you've listened to any of the views that she did after Money in the Bank, this was very, very similar. She thanked the fans for her support. She was very emotional. She was saying that like we did this, that she did this for the fans. This is you can kind of tell this is how she feels. That she's very glad she's able to get this win for her fans. She got a big pop. Found the fans very, very happy to see this win for Liv Morgan, and also that they're chanting that you deserve it. Obviously, she's been working very, very hard for a number of years now, chasing this dream. And exactly as Eddie's saying, she deserves it after the hard work. 8 years. 8 years. She's been grinding and trying and trying to get this title. It's when this is her first title in WWE. So definitely deserves a lot of props for that. For chasing that goal and getting it and doing it. Hard work does pay off. Very much love seeing that. Again, even as someone that's not always the biggest fan of Liv Morgan, the character, the on-screen performer, gotta give a shout out to the person. Like that's really cool, and it's cool. Like to see everyone being happy for her, even if I'm not like one of the people saying, like she said that she did this for quote unquote all of us. Even if I'm not like part of the us there, I can still appreciate like, hey, no, it's cool she won. Just to have that story. It's her moment. Brian saying she's earned it. Absolutely, no doubt about that. Nesha says maybe in hindsight she should have won the Royal Rumble. I think that's fair. I think that would have been a bigger moment in a way, because Money in the Bank is cool. It's a cool surprise, like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And if it's successful, hey, cashed in, you get your crowning moment, and you get that kind of climb up to the next level as a champion. Great. The win the Royal Rumble, like that's, I think it's a safe thing to say. It's more prestigious. Like some all-time legends have won the Royal Rumble, and while a number of top names have won Money in the Bank, there is a difference there. I think that's a pretty fair thing to say. So maybe that is true, but at the same time, maybe with an underdog like Liv Morgan, it's an easier kind of. It makes sense in a way. Maybe not to say they're not like all in on Liv, but like when you win the Royal Rumble, like in theory, you're the next person in line. Like we saw with Bianca Belair, not the person who wins always gets the title, but like it means a lot. Money in the Bank doesn't always mean a lot. We saw with Otis. Always go back to Otis winning the briefcase and losing it. Other people over the years have either lost the briefcase or lost a cash-in match. So it is a little less prestigious and significant. Again, I'm not trying to knock it. I'm just saying there is a difference there. And to Nash's point, maybe having Liv win the Rumble would have been a little more climactic, a little more impactful to have her get that title eventually at WrestleMania. But she won the title and Money in the Bank. She came out to celebrate tonight, so definitely deserves some props for that. Steven says he's fine with Liv winning. Not surprised with the reported rumor that the plan would be Ronda Rousey versus Liv again for SummerSlam. And kind of going off of that, Eddie says Ronda will beat Liv at SummerSlam and get tons of boos, potentially making the crowd leave before the show's over. I mean, John and I were talking about this on the Money in the Bank post show. I can see it, like, if they really kind of like what we're seeing with, I don't know, kind of what we saw with Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair last year, that they could be this way to really cement the one, in this case, Ronda Rousey as a heel, and then as a longer-term play, cement, in this case, Liv Morgan as this underdog who had her kind of, not her moment necessarily, but have the title stolen from her or at least taken from her, and then you set up that payoff and the culmination, whatever that might be. If that's next WrestleMania, I don't know. I mean, Money in the Bank, as I was just saying, like it's less of a career-making thing. It's very easy to like be a short-term boost. We go back to Nikki ASH last year. That she won Money in the Bank. She won the title. And I think 2 months later, she was in the women's tag title division, and then 2 months after that, really not doing much on Raw. And even now, she's barely even on the show anymore, unfortunately. But Brian says Ronda needs to be a heel for this to work. It is worth pointing out that that right now she still is a face, that she hugged Liv after the cash in, so it still seems to be going with a face kind of direction there. But I definitely agree. I think that'd be a much better story to tell of having Ronda be this heel, Liv Morgan, the fan favorite that everyone seems to like, and then people wanting to boo Ronda. I think that makes a lot of sense. DJ sharing his thoughts here, saying, I'm really hoping the rumors aren't true, that Liv Morgan will be SmackDown Women's Champion for a very long time. If you look at the SmackDown roster, the talent is really only Liv and Charlotte. And I'll pause there, Charlotte being out for now, but she'll be probably coming back soon. He says Liv as champion is what SmackDown needs. If it's going to succeed in the ratings, she has the glitz and the glamour, as well as all the talent in the world, not to mention a huge fan base, so it would be dumb to take the title from her early. DJ, thank you for sharing your thoughts there. It's interesting. I think WWE often does things for the ratings. Obviously, it's a business. They want good ratings, and ratings, you would think, kind of roughly equate to pay-per-view buys and ticket sales. There's math there that's out of my purview, but like the idea is you got good ratings, you're doing good business, even at least from the outside perspective. So I think that's one reason why ratings less so, more in this case more so the pay-per-view sales. That's why they're doing Brock versus Roman, and we talk about that. They don't have as much depth right now, so they kind of had to go back to that. Liv, you mentioned the ratings. It's interesting. Like we could go off for a whole nother like half hour here. Is Liv Morgan ratings? Is she a ratings draw? And to that, I don't know. I don't know if they built her up like that enough as of yet. Is she at the level of a ratings draw of a Charlotte Flair? People may not always like Charlotte Flair, but she's a draw. She's an established star. Sometimes people will tune in to watch because they kind of want to see her get beat, and that's a draw. Maybe in a counterintuitive way. National points out that the fans love Liv. The fans may love Liv, and that you can see on Twitter, you can see online, and people chanting. But that doesn't always mean they're going to tune into the show, because there are a number of people that may be tweeting and watching the YouTube videos, watching things. Maybe they'll DVR it or record it for the next day and they'll watch it. That's not necessarily equated to good ratings. And I think a lot of times WWE will look at that and say, oh, they're not a draw, so it's not working. Maybe that's why Big E's title run in the fall didn't work out. I think there are a number of examples that we've seen of that over the years. Again, I'm not even saying this for myself. I'm just saying that, like, I think this is the pattern that we see. And so, granted, tonight, Liv Morgan was not the draw, was not the reason people would tune in. But if they have her, like, in this advertised title match or whatever, and then that doesn't have good ratings, then they might make, react in that sense. But I mean, yeah, Eddie points out WWE, they don't create as much of a star as W talent. They often too much depend on the top talent. So I think he means that, like, they have these top talents, right? Brock Lesnar, Charlotte, Roman Reigns, and any number of others, and you don't often have as many of those people kind of at that next level, or at least the people there. There's such a big difference. It's the gap between the two. It's like, oh, you have your top stars, and then the people kind of at that rung beneath them, talking about a ladder proverbially, that second level down, your top level, and then the one beneath that, they're not quite at that level of being a quote unquote a draw. And that's not the talent's fault. That's WWE's fault. That's the booking's fault and all that. And also points out that WWE maybe often doesn't know what to do with someone different as a champion. Different could mean different because they're not in that top level that of that select few that they often go back to, Brock, Roman, etc. Different also with Liv. She's a different character, but she's not your typical baby face. Like, she has a very unique charm to her. I think that's why a lot of people like her. So maybe there's this sense that she's different, so they're not going to know exactly how to book her or how to book her well. I think that's fair as well. So I mean, this is the honeymoon phase. Liv was just tonight. She was saying, "Oh, I'm so glad I'm champion. This is dream come true." All that good stuff. Very par for the course. But what are we going to be seeing a week from now, 2 weeks from now, heading into SummerSlam? After SummerSlam, if she does retain the title, we'll wait and see. DJ points out that they do have a champion now. The females can look up to. I think that's fair as well. I do think we do have that and have had that with Bianca Belair. And I think Ronda Rousey is someone people can look up to as well. I don't want to knock that either. Liv is more relatable, though. Liv does feel like that kind of girl next door, very much like someone that's like chased their dreams. Like, there is a much more of a different sense of like, relatability. And like Ronda Rousey is this like UFC badass. Like, it's a little hard to like relate because like, wow, like she did that. She did all these great things. And like, there's a difference there, right? So that's just that her daughter loves Bianca and Becky, whereas and maybe Liv will join that list too, if not for Nesh's daughter specifically. In a general sense, I think a lot of young girls out there really do love and look up to Becky and Bianca and any number of others. Is Liv at that level right now? I don't know. Right? Liv is still young. She's been at this for 8 years. But she's still young, and she could definitely still keep climbing up that ladder to get to that level potentially. Eddie says that WWE fans right now want to see the new type of product. That's why most ratings today are lower than 10 years ago. I mean, I think again, ratings are so complicated. Like, they're like DVR streaming competition. Admittedly, AEW, even though it's not head to head, as an alternative, so people may not always say, "Oh, I'm going to watch this because it's the only thing on TV, the only wrestling that I can watch right now," because that's just simply not true. There's so much wrestling out there, is what we always talk about. And admittedly, the product is different. The product and the presentation is different. So maybe there are a number of reasons why the ratings are lower now. And I think WWE often blames the talent, blames a new champion or someone that they're pushing. Whereas there are a lot of more deep-rooted issues that they continue to not address. And again, it's not the talent's fault. It's not the talent's fault, and it sucks they often get blamed for it. Like, again, Big E, his WWE title reign, it wasn't great from a booking standpoint, and then the ratings probably weren't all that great, and he probably got blamed for it. And like, that's not fair. And maybe that's a philosophical thing where it's like, if you're in theory the champion should draw no matter what. I don't agree with that, but I digress. Steven says, put Liv against either Bayley or Charlotte and be a good test for her. I think that's fair as well. Either one should potentially be returning soon. I mean, we saw SummerSlam and Fightful reported that Bayley has been at least training to come back, so we can kind of assume she'll be back at some point soon. Charlotte, as we were talking about for the past couple of weeks, she got married. She's not hurt, so and Andrade has already come back to AEW. Her husband has already come back, so you would think that she'll be able to come back at some point soon as well. If Liv does retain the title against Ronda, if that is where we're going here, I think that either one of those would be a very good test for her. Someone had said a couple minutes ago, potentially adding one of them to the match here to make it a triple threat match. That'd be a lot of fun as well. And then Steven pointed out that a couple minutes ago. I think that'd be a very fitting match for SummerSlam. It's supposed to be a pretty big show. Yeah, so I think that'd be a good option as well. But if you do a rematch of Ronda, that's an interesting story. Maybe a tough sell because Liv is this ultimate underdog, and Ronda, like as John and I were talking about it last night, it's like, can they really sell us on the idea that Liv has a real chance of beating Ronda? Clearly 1, 2, 3. Yeah, she rolled her up Money in the Bank, but to actually beat her in a match is a whole other story. But we were talking about a lot of Liv Morgan here. We have plenty of other things to talk about as well. DJ asked, actually, I'll pause. Eddie predicts that Charlotte will win the title back to tie the 16 title reigns of her father, Ric Flair. It'll probably happen. Will it be here by beating Liv and potentially Ronda at SummerSlam? That remains to be seen, but it very much could happen. DJ wonders, how did the Mysterios beat Judgment Day by DQ? WWE never lets the hometown heroes win. That's what they do. Ray in his hometown of San Diego tonight on Raw. They faced Finn Balor and Damian Priest of the Judgment Day here. So a pretty good match. Ray and Dominic, they worked well together as a team. This was the first opportunity we had to see Finn and Damian Priest as a team on Raw as Judgment Day here. So I like to get to see how they would work together. I thought they worked together as well. Like Ray and Dominic, I like seeing them as a team. I like this new this new heelish Finn Balor here of the Judgment Day working with Damian Priest here. I liked what we saw here. Ray and Dominic won. I misunderstood. So Ray and Dominic beat Judgment Day by DQ because they took a page out of Eddie Guerrero's playbook. Classic Rey Mysterio. Obviously, we know that he was very, very close friends with Eddie Guerrero, the late great Eddie Guerrero. Eddie was often known for lying, cheating, stealing in the ring. Classic thing where he would take a chair and he make a sound and make it seem like he got hit. Drop the chair, he would drop to the ground. The referee sees it, and he thinks it's a DQ, and then he wins the match. That's exactly what happened here. Ray got the chair and made it seem like he got hit. So Ray Dominic won. Very big, big hometown win for Ray Dominic here. As DJ pointed out, it is surprising that they won because WWE never has hometown people win. Not that she loved the shout, loved the tribute here to Eddie Guerrero. They're always fun to see that. You'll often see frog splashes and the Three Amigos. Not so often you'll see this classic trick that he had. So it's kind of cool to have that very specific trick to have like that. Steven points out it's been a while since we've seen that. But a good win from the Mysterios. The Judgment Day attacked them backstage, so it feels like we're going to get a rematch here. We talked about the Edge vignette earlier. I would have to assume that when Edge does come back, it'll be as a face because he's going to want revenge on the Judgment Day, probably on Finn Balor because Finn was the real turncoat here by joining the group and then kicking him out. But I think that'd be a very fun feud for SummerSlam potentially, and I hope that we do get for SummerSlam. That'd be a big match for that show. Speaking of Finn, Eddie points out Finn was wearing pants. He was wearing pants for this match. Usually he wears trunks, and he was wearing pants tonight. Seemingly some new gear for him, a new kind of part of his aesthetic or part of his whole package here for being part of the Judgment Day. Makes sense. Shake it up. Whatever, I don't know. He's wearing pants now. I thought it looked fine, but definitely worth pointing out because it wasn't a new look for him. And DJ points out, I would think probably SummerSlam for Edge. I would assume he would come back before that to build up the match there. Hopefully that'll be next week, maybe the week after that, because they don't have a lot of time. The clock is ticking. They better get on that. Two simultaneous questions here about the road to SummerSlam here. I'll start with DJ and then go to Mesha. DJ points out, should Logan Paul accept the Miz's offer to go win the tag titles? No. I don't think you should. One, The Miz betrayed Logan Paul at WrestleMania. He talked him after the match, and as much as he can say, oh, we're cool now, like it was a teaching moment, now we can chase tag titles, Logan Paul should want revenge. Like they teamed up, and then The Miz ruined his WrestleMania moment, so now that Logan Paul has signed WWE, he can say, like, no, I want revenge, I want to not be associated with you, I want to start off my career with my official career with WWE on my own, being that it is here and doing that. I thought Logan Paul was going to appear tonight. I thought that they had advertised that. I know he was advertised for the July 18th show, officially by the Arena, but I remember seeing he was going to be on the show tonight. No Logan Paul tonight. And as Nesh points out, you would think that he would have appeared on the show if they were going to do this match for SummerSlam. Not tonight. Again, they only have really 3 weeks here. Steven says that they're going to drag the feud out here. I don't know if they're going to drag it out beyond SummerSlam, like any much longer beyond that. Like, at least I would really hope not. But I could see them doing it. Like, the team together at WrestleMania, they could face off at SummerSlam. They could do a rematch at some point after that. It's not a feud that has a lot of meat on the bone for me. Like, I don't know how much they're really going to get out of it beyond a short-term build for SummerSlam. But I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. But I was going to say, to answer DJ's question, I don't think they should challenge the Usos for the titles, because we already said, and also it's the Usos. They're the ones, okay? They're the unified tag team champions. Like, why would Logan Paul come in having won? He's 1-0 in tag team matches, but like, you're gonna step up to the Usos, this dominant tag team that's the unified tag titles, and beat everybody? Like, that's not a smart play. That is not a smart play. One idea here, Eddie points out, and I kind of thought this as well, at least potentially, we could see another tag team match where they don't team up, but they oppose each other, because tonight we had The Miz face AJ Styles in a match here. AJ won. It was a good match, and after the match, The Miz attacked AJ. AJ won the match, and then Ciampa attacked AJ, and then he shook hands with The Miz. So Ciampa is officially aligned with The Miz, even though we've already seen like some kind of a loose alliance over the past number of weeks here. But now they shook hands. They are officially aligned. This is not great for Ciampa. Like, this is all he's been doing. He's been attacking people randomly, and now he's The Miz's bodyguard, goon. Like, that's not great, man. Like, this is the former NXT champion, the former like face of NXT, or at least one of the face of NXT. Like, he deserves so much better. I'm glad he's on the show. I'm glad he's being used, but he's not being used well. Like, and I agree with Steven saying Ciampa, he is not like the direction here. Like, he attacked Mustafa Ali like twice. I think then he had like 1 or 2 matches. He attacked Riddle, and they had a match. So he'll probably have a match with AJ Styles. That'll be a good match. It'd be an even better match if they actually booked him well. Like, this is not being very good. As Nesh points out, at least it's being used, so I can't complain about that. Like, that's good. I will at least be glad about that. But I want better for him. I want him to actually be utilized, like prominently featured, and like be winning matches, not be like fodder for whoever The Miz is feuding with, essentially, at this point. Because I think that's pretty disappointing. But DJ points out we could have Logan Paul accept the offer and then team with The Miz and help the Usos win. And then going back to what Steven said, maybe if they do draw it out, then that would save their singles match for, I don't even know what. I don't think they'd have a match across at the Casual. So would that be Extreme Rules? That's in what? I think early October, if I'm not mistaken, or later in September. That's a ways away. Like, again, I don't know how much they can really drag this out. But that's one way. If they do team up and then it's a swerve and Logan turns on them, I think that's one thing they could do. Steven says Extreme Rules is in October. So if they don't do Logan Paul versus Miz at SummerSlam, I don't think they're going to do it at Clash at the Castle. Myself, I just don't really think they're going to do that. They could, but if they don't do it there, then it would likely be at Extreme Rules in October. That's a ways away from now. So again, they're going to have a hard time. I think, really, at least for me, keeping me interested, keeping me engaged in this feud. Because again, I don't think it's all that meaty to begin with. Nesh says that Ciampa is too talented for this. I agree. Ciampa is very, very talented. I'm a big fan of his. Want better for him. But again, I will say he's being used. DJ with an all caps comment saying, "Ciampa, for the love of God, bring back No One Will Survive." and then the attitude you had. Oh, bring back the no one will survive attitude you had. Yeah, I love that. I love that run here. I love the NXT Ciampa, and this is now what we're really seeing here on main roster. And we always see most of the time a very clear difference of main roster and NXT. So that definitely was true. It has been true of Ciampa so far. So I'm not all that hopeful, unfortunately. I don't know. I don't want to get my hopes up like, oh, it's going to get better in terms of how they're going to present him, at least in the short term. But I definitely like that run for Ciampa in NXT. I'd like them to borrow more from that for his run on main roster here. So I would assume we're going to get Ciampa versus AJ Styles probably next week because he's attacking tonight. How that eventually loops in Logan Paul or whatever, I don't know. Eddie points out Ciampa does not have he's not the Vince type. He's a little older. He's not this big jack guy. So he does, and I think the combination of the two, does make it seem like he's not quite he's not Vince's type, unfortunately. And I think that's a shame. I think he's very talented. We're talking about the tag titles here. Does seem very likely we are going to get a rematch here, Usos and Street Profits, based on kind of the screwy finish we saw Money in the Bank. Montez Ford has shoulder up, so they could easily challenge for a rematch, and that's a good reason to get it. So I definitely think we could wind up seeing that. And again, even though we've seen it a lot, I'm sure it'll be a very good match as it was Money in the Bank. So I'm not going to complain too much about that because it's going to be a good one. But we're talking about the Street Profits. They were involved in one of the more memorable parts of the show. So we had a July 4th cookout here in honor of the holiday. They were hosting a cookout, a number of segments of the show. We had a hot dog eating contest because they were confronted by Alpha Academy and settled their beef, maybe pun intended. We had Angelo Dawkins and Otis eat hot dogs because that's what you do on 4th of July. In this case, quite literally, a hot dog eating contest on 4th of July here. And as you might expect, things got pretty gross. So Otis was wolfing down hot dogs, and the final total was he ate 23, and Angelo Dawkins ate 22. As Eddie points out, it's Independence Day. WWE needed to do the hot dog competition because we had Joey Chestnut, 15-time champion of hot dog eating contests in real life here. So they kind of wanted to tip a cap to that, I guess, in honor of the holiday. But so we had Otis seemingly win 23 hot dogs, and then we actually saw him wolfing them down. And then we pan over to Akira Tozawa, who off camera apparently ate 48 hot dogs. So he won the contest. And Otis, our guy Otis, 23 hot dogs in. He was not feeling well, but he had to soldier on. He had his 6-man tag team match. Otis and Gable and Theory facing the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley, the new United States champion, in honor of the holiday. And at first, he seemed fine. He was soldiering through it. He was going through it. He was having a good time, using his power. And later in the match, he was clearly not feeling it. Like if you've ever eaten a lot of hot dogs or a lot of anything, and you try to do something, you go for a run, you go swimming. That's why they say don't go swimming after you have a cookout on 4th of July or whatever. You got to wait whatever it is 90 minutes before you go swimming because things aren't going to go your way. It's not going to go well for you if you eat a lot and then exert yourself. So here we had Otis in the tag team match. He's having a good time. He's dominating guys, but then later in the match, he's holding his stomach. He's not feeling good. And then the poor guy, our poor guy Otis, he took a brutal spear from Bobby Lashley, and then the worst of all, he took a frog splash from Montez Ford from the heavens, like just crashing all the way down, right on his tummy. Like you're not gonna have a good time, okay? Like if you eat a lot, for me, like anytime I eat like any meal, even just a meal, and not even chowing down 23 hot dogs. I eat a meal. I'm like, don't even touch my stomach. Like I need like time to digest it and process it. Poor Otis, like he had to go out there. He's getting hit in the gut. He got the spear. He got the frog splash. You had to know where this was going, okay? And then the match ends. Otis rolls back in the ring. DJ was using the emojis of puking. Yeah, he blew chunks. And like, I don't know if it was, I think like it was fake, but like there was a hot dog looking chunk in there. Like it looked pretty chunky. This was pretty gnarly. I don't have that sensitive of a stomach where it's like, if I see it, like, and obviously it's on TV. Like if I was there in person, like I would maybe a little more grossed out, but like, it was a pretty gross visual, and then they replayed it twice, or at least maybe even 3 times in slow motion, just chunks just coming out. It's what they do, right? We got a bunch of comments earlier saying this is what Vince McMahon does. This is his kind of humor. I'm looking for the comment. Yeah, Dan pointing out Vince loves poop and throw up humor. Hey, I mean, I think throw up's kind of less gross, or at least like maybe a little less juvenile, I guess. Like anytime they do like the poop humor, it's like, all right, like, haha, you know. DJ's asking, how many do I think I could consume? Well, when I was younger, in the good old days, I played lacrosse. It pains me to say. And one year we had like a picnic or something. It was the end of the season. We had a picnic, and I was on some meds. I happened to get a very allergic reaction to poison ivy. I'm very allergic. I took meds, and one of the side effects is it makes you very, very hungry. So naturally, we have this cookout, and they brought. I'm talking like dozens and dozens of hot dogs. Because I was in, I think eighth grade, maybe ninth grade, and it's me and a bunch of other like young teenage boys or whatever. I think I was maybe like 13 or so, and I'm a hungry boy. I'm a growing boy, and I was doped up on these meds that amped up my hunger. I probably ate like maybe I'm underselling this. I felt like it was at least 5 or 6 hot dogs, and that's nothing compared to like this Otis thing. Joey Chestnut, that guy is a machine. I don't know how he does it. Like, if I had to put a number to it now, I wouldn't even want to eat that many. Like, I would like, my mind would tell me to stop at like probably 3, which is, yeah, I know I'm weak. Okay, I'm weak, but like, I wouldn't want to chow down on like a bunch of hot dogs. All right, like that's not my idea of a good time. Anybody out there in the comments, if you want to give your number of how many how many hot dogs you could eat. I don't know what the time limit is off the top of my head. Joey Chestnut eats 62 hot dogs. Okay, I pale in comparison to that. I could not even come close to that. No siree. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. Nessa says your blood sugar makes me stop. The fact I know I would hate myself if I had more than 3. Like that's too many. I can do 2 for a meal. Anything else, not happening. I'm sorry. Like, unless like I'm not gonna put a number on it. If it was for like a lot of money, and I would imagine like most of these contests you might be for some money. Even then, just I would feel so gross after it. Like it's not worth it. Like I don't know. But yeah, like it's part of the 4th of July culture with Joey Chestnut. WWE did it now. They've done stuff like this before. I think it's fine. Of course, they want to show Otis blowing chunks on TV because what they do. And that's what I point out that skinny people do well in the eating contest. And Deej points out that someone, a skinny person, had beat Joey Chestnut a couple years ago. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to think that. Ironically, like I think it'd be easier to eat just the hot dog. As Ness points out, the bun is awful. It's awful on her blood sugar. I think the bun is hard when you're eating it. Like yeah, I think anybody could kind of eat, just the dog, just the ween. But I think it's a lot harder to have the bun, to have the whole package. We're going off the rails here. It was a weird part of Raw. All right. It's 4th of July. It's what it's part of the culture now, and it's their way to kind of incorporate that. And again, as well as with Vince McMahon having that be part of his sense of humor, as it seems. It's what they do. This was reported by Sean Rossap earlier in the day. Fightful there, Fightful Select reported this earlier in the day. So like I saw it coming. So like once I primed myself up, like okay, this is gonna happen. So I wasn't that grossed out because I knew it was gonna happen. Even if I saw it live, if I saw it blind, or it's like oh, like I had no idea that was happening. It's fine. It's on TV. Kind of gnarly, kind of gross, especially the slow-mo of the chunks coming out. But whatever. Now just does no Veer match tonight. Mustafa Ali stole Veer's food during the cookout, and I'm like, dude, in what world is that a good idea? You're gonna steal this man's food at a cookout when you're all just gathering for the holiday, trying to have a good time. You're stealing this man's food when he's trying to, enjoy each other in the community for a prank. Like, come on. In that case, Mustafa Ali seems like a jerk. He's stealing this man's food for what? For what? I thought that was wrong. Veer did not have a match tonight. Maybe we'll see him next week. So Veer kind of came to Raw. Something else happened to cook up, though. Seeing what's up, Ezekiel made the grave mistake of accidentally spraying ketchup on Seth freaking Rollins. Sprayed it all over him, squirted that ketchup all over his nice shirt, his nice fashionable shirt. That led to a match. Good match here. This is one of Ezekiel's bigger tests here since he's debuted on Raw. He's faced some other top stars here. He's feuded with Kevin Owens. This was one of the other big names here on Raw, Seth Rollins. Rollins won. No shame in that. He put up a good fight. But then Rollins won fair and square. He went to attack Ezekiel after the match, and then Riddle came out of nowhere and hit the RKO out of nowhere on Rollins, seemingly to set up a match for SummerSlam. Feels like that's where we're going. I think that's one of the bigger matches that they could do on Raw at this point for the SummerSlam card. You have, Riddle being one of the top baby faces. You have Rollins, one of the top heels, so it makes a lot of sense to do that. So it feels like a good match to do for SummerSlam. I don't know what the story will be. There's not much of a real story other than you're a top star. He's a top star. Gonna have a feud. Gonna have a match. It's gonna be good. Again, not gonna complain. I'm sure it'll be a very good match. Ness points out the Seth's suit was dull tonight, and the ketchup made it pop. Hey, ketchup makes everything pop. I'm a big fan of ketchup. That's my condiment of choice here on 4th of July and all other days. I will love myself some ketchup. I literally refuse to eat a hot dog if it does not have ketchup. I need ketchup on it. I put that stuff on everything. Big fan of ketchup. Shout out, unofficial sponsor of the show tonight. Generic ketchup. So big fan of ketchup. DJ points out that there are a lot of spots in the match where it looked like Ezekiel was going to win. Yeah, there was one point he had a knee strike, a bunch of near falls. So yeah, he put up a good fight against Rollins. So even in defeat, he had a good performance here. And Dan and Steven both wondering if Kevin Owens is hurt. He was going to be in that Monday Night Qualifier last week against Ezekiel or El Rod, if you remember that from last week, and then didn't. He just was not on the show, and we don't really know why. I think Dave Meltzer reported that it was a minor issue. So as far as I know, he's not really hurt. I just don't know what's happening there. I haven't seen anything else since then. That was last week now, and Owens was not on the show tonight. It just says Owens had a minor injury. Yeah, it was something minor. But again, with that injury and also the fact it's only 3 weeks of SummerSlam, I wonder if he'll be on the card because they got to quickly start getting these things going. I would assume he might face Ezekiel or Elias or El Rod at SummerSlam, something like that, maybe. I would assume that would be the case. DJ points out that he probably did not want to go to Texas because of what happened with everything with Steve Austin in WrestleMania. I mean, that's what he said. I think there was a report that he was dealing with some minor injury as well. So maybe it was both. Maybe he both didn't want to go, and then he was sidelined with some kind of injury there. I would assume if he's good to go, we might see this ultimate culmination of the Owens versus Elias, Ezekiel, etc. Feud for SummerSlam. But that remains to be seen because again, we still have roughly 3 weeks to SummerSlam there. But that would be a very reasonable expectation if Owens is good to go because they've been feuding since April at this point. So I think it's time to wrap that up. And I think SummerSlam is a good place to do it here. Speaking of SummerSlam, one of the other things here to talk about before we get out of here, we had Austin Theory. Sorry, almost said Austin Theory. Just Theory. He had fresh off his Money in the Bank win. He won the briefcase on Saturday. Came out and confronted Bobby Lashley, the new U.S. champion. Lashley defeated Theory at Money in the Bank to win the title. Theory said he's gonna he's gonna get a rematch for the title at SummerSlam, and 2, he's gonna cash in the briefcase on Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns, whoever survives that battle at SummerSlam. Which is interesting. He's aiming to win the U.S. title back and then cash in and get the world title. And I don't know. I just felt, again, I was so locked into my mind that he was going to be feuding with John Cena, and now reportedly that's been delayed to WrestleMania next year, supposedly, which makes sense. But this did feel like a bit of a step back. Like he won Money in the Bank, but he's going to be challenging for the U.S. title, which is it seems odd to me. And Eddie points out the report being that supposedly Cena versus Theory will now happen not at SummerSlam as once believed, or if not officially, at least speculated. Now that may be happening at WrestleMania instead, gives them more time to build up theory for that, which I think is very beneficial to do that, because then you could actually have it be this believable clash between Cena and Theory, this established star, whereas now it's like Cena's very much, or sorry, Theory's very much like this young star, hasn't quite been built up to that level. So I think that's probably for the best there. Nesh says it's not surprising that Theory's going to get a rematch, even after he got Money in the Bank. I agree, it's not surprising. Well, he lost, of course, he should get a rematch. It just does feel like a bit of a step back, because again, like Money in the Bank, he closed the show, he won the briefcase after he lost the title, and now he's going to be challenging for the title while also potentially cashing in. I don't know. And I'm not trying to knock the title. It's just like the way that they've presented the title, it does make it seem like it's lesser than. But he needs something to do with SummerSlam, not being able to face John Cena or having the decision to delay that. It makes sense. Also worth pointing out that Lashley said during his promo he said nobody here or in any division or in any promotion could beat him. Now, usually WWE makes it seem like they're the only promotion, especially during the show. When then they have people in promos, they make it seem like WWE is the be all end all. So to have a champion here on the show say nobody in any other promotion, and the crowd audio was like ooh, because like that's pretty substantial. It's like, you know, they usually don't do that. So I don't think that's going to go anywhere, but just, you know, a nice little memorable moment of Lashley saying that, of saying like that he's confident that he's the Almighty, that nobody else could beat him here, anywhere, you know, AEW, wherever it might be. Definitely that caught my attention as well. And again, we talked about this earlier, but potentially having Bobby Lashley face Gunther later on here, if maybe for Side Series, some little brand warfare, Clash of Champions there. That make a lot of sense, and I look forward to potentially seeing that. I think that'd be a great clash of powerhouses there, and that'd be a lot of fun. But DJ points out that we could have the Forbidden Door open again. I don't know. We saw WWE work with Impact in the Royal Rumble. I don't know if this is going to go anywhere else beyond that. At the time we were like, oh, what if they do this, that, the other thing? I don't know about that. Eddie points out Tony Khan did say he would be open to talking about working a show with WWE. Could that be a thing down the road? Maybe. I don't know if we're there yet right now. That feels like that. If that happened, like even a year from now, I'd be blown away, given the way we've seen WWE operate for a long time. But in the wrestling world, anything can happen. You never know. You never know. Also, worth pointing out, DJ points out that we had Alexa Bliss of an interview. She says she wants to hold a title. It's been too long where she's only been holding Lily. She wants to hold something else other than Lily. She wants to hold a title, wants some gold. Now, DJ's saying R.I.P. Lily. Lily's not going anywhere. She even said she wants. She was like, "Oh, how cute would it be for a mini title for Lily?" So Alexa Bliss wants some gold, which I'm in favor of. Big fan of Alexa Bliss. I don't know how it's going to work. You know, we obviously have SummerSlam. It feels like we were going to get Bianca versus Rhea Ripley or Becky, as we talked about earlier. And Alexa's on Raw. Liv Morgan on SmackDown now as a champion. You would assume that, you know, Liv will be facing Ronda or maybe Charlotte, as we talked about earlier. So where does that leave Alexa? I don't know. And maybe if they do like a Fatal 4-Way kind of thing with, you know, Bianca, Becky, but they just does Hell in a Cell with a little triple threat. So I don't know about that. Now this says give Alexa and Lloyd the tag titles. I mean, hey, right now the women's tag titles are literally, for all intents and purposes, sitting on a shelf. Don't know what the plan is there with the whole Naomi and Sasha Banks thing. So why not? Why not give them to Alexa Bliss and Naomi there? Now, to circle back, Eddie points out that Stephanie McMahon is the interim CEO, so technically she's in charge. But also we're pointing out Vince McMahon is still in charge of creative, at least for the time being. So while Stephanie could, I'm curious about how that works because Vince is her father. Stephanie is the interim CEO and chairwoman. But you would assume Vince still is calling shots, at least to some degree. I don't know. It is a very interesting dynamic there. Steven likes the idea of giving Alexa some matches with Asuka. Asuka confronted Alexa tonight when Alexa said she wants to win the title. Asuka said she wants to win the title, but then Asuka lost to Becky. So Becky would seemingly go on to challenge for the title, whereas Asuka and Alexa could potentially feud to be next in line. They feuded back in the day when Alexa was tagging with Nikki Cross. and Asuka's teaming with Kairi Sane, so they could kind of circle back to that now in a tag team sense. I think that'd be very interesting. I'd like to see that. Big fan of Alexa. Asuka's great, so I think that'd be a lot of fun. As for Battle Lashley, we're talking the SummerSlam card here. Now it says Lashley's a vet and US champion on the 4th. Hey, that's cool, right? 4th of July, Independence Day. Bobby Lashley's veteran, and you could tell like he was saying in his promo, and he said it, I think in an interview after Money in the Bank, that means a lot to him to literally be the United States champion here as a veteran, and now he won this match on the 4th of July. Pretty cool moment for him. Very, very cool to see that. Otherwise here, or maybe outside of the women's tag titles thing here, Eddie says maybe they could have a mini-card title for the women like the TBS title in AEW. Looks like WWE does not care about the women's tag titles. I mean, yeah, especially with, again, the Sasha Banks Naomi thing, feels like that is the case right now. I don't, if they did that title, I think it would have to be across both brands. I don't think they could do it just on one brand, because I don't think they have the depth to do that, especially on SmackDown. So I would hope that a title like that would be across both brands. In theory, it feels like that's what the 24/7 title is supposed to be, even though it's clearly not. I'm not saying that at all. It feels like that's kind of at times the intention, because you have Tamina, Dana Brooke, Nikki ASH, etc., being a champion. But maybe that would be one way to have Alexa Bliss and others have something to fight for. But that's just saying they don't need another title. They already have the Raw title, SmackDown title, 24/7 title. Rule says they should have an intercontinental title. That word always just intercontinental title for the women here. I like the idea. It's just like, one, they already have an IC title, and two, you do run the risk of having too many titles. But I think there's definitely a benefit to it. I definitely think there's the pros and cons as always. So if they did it, I think it'd be one way to have more matches have stakes. I just says you could have the IC title potentially on NXT, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT UK, because it would literally be the IC title. So I think that'd be definitely, especially if they decide not to proceed with the women's tag titles, which we all know, that's one way to kind of get around that. You feature more talent from NXT, and that's points out they don't have enough women's talent to do it through their own fault, through all the releases, through everything that they've done themselves over the past year plus. That they used to have a lot more depth than they do now, and now, yeah, they definitely don't have a lot of depth. But if they roped in NXT UK, that would be one way to kind of to circumvent that. But we'll wait and see about that. Otherwise, here I think that just about does it. That's, we had the crazy cookout, we had Gunther squashing R-Truth, we had the main event here, Becky and Asuka. I just imagine having Asuka win that title and defending against Cora Jade, Roxanne, and Nikita Lyons. Like that idea. I'm in favor. Am I 100% in favor of it? Not necessarily. Steven says John Laurinaitis took the women's tag titles with him. Now he's supposedly suspended. I think he stepped back, or at least he's not been as involved lately. But it seems like maybe that's where the titles went right now. We got to see Otis throw up. So definitely an eventful show. We're also wondering about the rumor of a forbidden door between WWE and AEW. I don't know about the rumors. All I know is that Tony Khan reportedly said he'd be open to it in an interview, open to working a show with WWE as he did with New Japan. I think that's all there was to it. I don't think there's really much more beyond that. So potentially that could be something down the road. But for now, that's very much a thing of something that could potentially happen, and not something that seems like it's likely going to happen anytime soon. But wait and see. We will wait and see. Overall here for Raw tonight, one hear what you all thought about the show overall. One being great, one being a raw hot dog for your July 4th cookout, and 10 being 10 out of 10 exquisite hot dog. Would happily eat 62 of them for the hot dog eating contest. For me, I would say, I don't know. I'll go for like a 6. Maybe that's being generous. Very good main event. Thought some of the stuff was pretty silly. Didn't care for some of the cookout stuff, etc. Thought the matches were good. I'm skeptical about where we're going for SummerSlam. I want to see us I want to see the show get into high gear. I'm going to build up the card a little more quickly because time's running out. Steven says a 6. Daniel was a 7. Deidre was a 7. Nestor was a 7 as well. Rule is giving a solid. I read a 9, but he said 5.9, solid 5.9. Feels much more realistic. Or Rock with a 5.5 national match value. You gave it a 7 as well. So seems like roughly average, maybe a little below average overall here. It's a holiday. You kind of imagine, they might have gone all out for the holiday show. You can kind of figure the numbers tomorrow for the viewership probably won't be great because it's a holiday, but regardless, still plenty to enjoy here. The main event was very good. We got some build for SummerSlam, so I'm hoping we'll get a bit more into higher for that for next week and beyond. DJ points out it was 63 hot dogs. Oh my goodness gracious, Joey Chestnut, 63 hot dogs. Goodness gracious, that is too many, too many. There is a number that is too many hot dogs, and that is most definitely it. So that being said, folks, here we are at WrestleZone. We try to do our very best to give you all the content, the Raw post show, NXT post show, SmackDown post show, schedule permitting. John and I are usually here on Mondays to talk about Raw. On Tuesday, talk about NXT. We're 2 Diamond Dudes in our Rampage cover. Mark and Dominic cover all things AEW. Make sure to check that out. Otherwise, we got great reviews constantly coming at you guys. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff and more. I'm running out of steam. It's already past midnight. Thank you all so very much for staying up talking about all things wrestling here. I hope you all enjoyed the holiday. Speaking of the holiday, today was the 4th of July. Or yesterday was, now it's already Tuesday morning. We'll have NXT post show for the Great American Bash with NXT. That'll be Tuesday night here with myself and John Clark talking all things NXT there. Very much a star-studded show for that one as well. Looking forward to it. I hope you all are as well. We'll enjoy the holiday. With that being said, the one out there is a very scary place, but that is why we come here, to escape all of that, to do the one thing we do above all others, and that, my friends, is to enjoy wrestling.